What's going on, guys? CO here with week 3 of the NES. This week we are going up against the Detroit Darkrais, coached by MDS MVP. All of his important links and stuff will be down in the description below. If you couldn't gather by this, I'm a little bit behind again on my recordings, so I'm just going to go really fast this week. My team's up top, his team's down below. As you can see, he has a very scary team, actually. It's a lot of like slow bulk and then fast, potentially, offense that kind of hurts my team a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I am terrified of Azelf. Metagross is pretty scary too. Zard X and Salamence are obviously very scary Dragon Dancers that can pretty much punch a hole in my team if they get a Dragon Dance up and start wrecking holes. Gramble is something I'm very familiar with from last season because I brought it to like 10 games or something last year. Rotom Wash, P2, Cradily, and Amoonguss are just really good walls, and Heatran's a good like kind of mix, I guess. I don't really know how to describe Heatran because it can be defensive, but it can also be offensive. So basically what I gathered from this team is he's either going to go very, very slow bulk, very, very fast offense, or a mix of them, which is kind of weird. So my speed tiers are a little weird this week, but we have offensive Dredagon with Earthquake, Glare, Stealth Rock, and Dragon Claw. The Habon Berry allows me to take an Outrage from, I believe, a +1 Salamence. Don't quote me on that, because it's been a little while since I've done this battle. But I believe it allows me to take a +1 Earthquake or Outrage from Salamence, and it definitely allows me to take on Zard X and just fire back with a Dragon Claw or an Earthquake, depending on what's in. I really wanted Earthbreak, Mold Breaker EQ this week because of Rotom Wash, mostly. I pretty much did not want this thing pivoting around my team at all. And I believe the extra speed investment is in case he decided to speed creep Gramble to creep me. It requires a decent amount of speed investment, so I'm not sure if he'd do it, but it's there. Next up, making their season debut is Dowsy. This is basically meant to be a 100% hard counter to Amoonguss. And it actually ends up being a pretty good counter to Rotom Wash as well, which is pretty nice. Between Volt Absorb, Lantern's very, very, very good natural bulk, and the Safety Goggles, which, if you don't know, are an item that basically allows me to be immune to powder moves, such as, most importantly, Spore. If he also runs Stun Spore for some reason, I'm good there. That's really about it, honestly. I had leftovers on here before, but during practice I realized that Safety Goggles is nice because I didn't really have a Spore switch in this week. Spoilers, I'm not bringing Downwise. Soak is also a really cool move that I don't really think sees enough competitive play, in my opinion. Soak basically makes it so whatever the target gets hit with is instantly a water type, which is kind of gimmicky, but when you have something that has Volt Absorb and you have a couple of walls that don't really appreciate being turned into a water type and then just toxic, it's pretty nice. Heal Bell's obviously there to heal the rest of my team, and Volt Switch is good for slow Volt Switches to get into the rest of my offense. Next up, we have Trap Card the Zoroark. I'm bringing a physical Zoroark this week, which is actually kind of weird, I guess, especially since he has a couple of things with Intimidate, but the way I see it, Knockoff U-Turn, Sucker Punch actually does a ton to his team, and Flamethrower's mostly there for chip damage on Amoonguss, which again seems situational, but for some reason Zoroark always seemed like it was in against Amoonguss during my practice games, so I was like, you know what, let's go for it. Not really much to say about that one. So next up we have probably one of my favorite Cresselia sets that I've brought so far in Rocky Helmet, Fizdef pretty much. The speed is actually really important because it allows me to outspeed a speed creeping Rotom Wash. I didn't really predict that being a huge issue, but I noticed through my speed tiers that I was pretty close, so I was like, you know what, let's just take 20 defense out and throw it in here just in case. Moonlight Thunder Wave basically makes it so Metagross does not want to stay in against me. It can't hit me with Earthquake, it's not doing anything with Bullet Punch or Meteor Mash, and I could just Thunder Wave it and basically neutralize it. I'm not going to be able to hit it with any of my moves, obviously. HP Rock's there, so I can basically hit Zard X and Salamence if I need to. Just get a little bit of chip damage mostly. It also does neutral damage to a decent amount of his team. Not everyone, obviously, but for everyone that it doesn't normally, Psychic does damage. Metagross is the only thing that kind of like doesn't really care about either of my moves, but it also doesn't want to get Thunder Wave, so... Next up, also making their season debut, is Kick and Chicken the Combuskin. Before I go into this, I'll just go ahead and say I actually made a slight mistake at the last minute. Rock Slide was originally Hidden Power Ice, and I changed it to Rock Slide just to have a fully physical Combuskin. Spoilers, that's going to end up coming to bite me in the battle. But Baton Pass Protect is pretty obvious what I'm going to do with it. I'm just going to try to speed pass into stuff. Rock Slide's just there for pretty decent damage, like I was saying, and Flare Blitz is there for the damage that can't be done to stuff that gets hurt by Rock Slide, pretty much. The only thing that kind of sucks about this is he has dual Intimidate, so if he tries to just switch, or if he switches into either one, I have to pass an Intimidate drop as well, which is kind of annoying, but I can play around it. And finally, the thing that his team has literally no answers to. The only thing that can really counter this set, to be honest, is a Scarfed Azelf or a Scarfed Metagross, because those things can just outspeed, I guess. But Facade, High Jump Kick, Ice Punch, and Fake Out literally hits everything on his team. He has a lot of Will-O-Wisp support, which is the main reason why I wanted to bring Facade this week, because I definitely saw something coming with Willow. I wasn't sure what was going to come with Willow, but he has a ton of status available to him on his team, so I thought Facade would be good this week. Just good neutral damage on most of the stuff. And High Jump Kick, even to stuff that gets resisted. A max attack Adamant Lopunny is just going to basically be flying around kicking stuff, and there's not very much you can do about it but kill it. So that was actually one of my faster team builders, which is nice. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the battle now, so I will see you guys then. Bye.